Good morning, my YouTube viewers. Crystal here. I'm here this morning making you a video with my new computer, which I had to get yesterday because the keyboard on my Chromebook isn't working. And I have to say I'm very disappointed in my Chromebook. I only had it 6 months, and it was plagued with anomalies the whole 6 months that I had it. So what I want to do is, with my new computer that I'm still getting used to, that doesn't have a touch screen either, I wanted to give you this video that I've done using Isolation Forest to look for any anomalies in the 2020 presidential election, because obviously President Trump is saying that there's been massive voter fraud, and we just want to look at the votes to see if we can find any massive voter fraud. So I've used this function called Isolation Forest, which I've never used before, but I'm going to attempt to go through the program that I've written with you so we can see what's going on, see if machine learning can determine if there's any voting fraud. The first thing about using Isolation Forest is this is an unsupervised learning algorithm. So you're not going to have a prediction per se, you're just going to have an analysis. And the difference between supervised learning and unsupervised learning is the fact that in unsupervised learning, you don't have a target. So we don't have a target here. But so that's what's interesting about this type of machine learning, which is this is the first time I've done it. And so let's see how we get on. And these the data sets that I'm using are data sets that I've gotten off of the internet. And so this program is a hard look for fraud in presidential elections from 1976 to 2020. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to import the libraries. And I imported Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, and Seaborn. The next thing we want to do is we want to import the data set. Now the data set is a data set that I put together from two programs, and I've noted the two programs in the program. So it's taken from the MIT website and the Kaggle website, and I've listed it on my GitHub account to quote my sources. But what I did was I took those two CSV files and I manipulated them to make them very similar to the layouts, very similar to each other, and then I merged them together. So that's what you've got, but the data is still from the MIT and Kaggle. So here's our train file. So you've got state, candidate, party here, and candidate votes. And then we check for any null values. We don't have any null values because I made sure there were no values when I put the file together. And then now what we're doing is graphical representation of votes. So this is a disk plot of the votes. And this is a violin plot of the votes. Number 1 is Democrat, 2 is Republican, and 3 is other. And then what we've done is we've done a box plot of Democrat, Republican, and other. And so you can see the boxes are where the majority of the votes lie, and all of these little dots on top of the boxes right here, those are like outliers. So you can see that throughout the presidential campaigns from 1976 to 2020, you've had quite a few outliers in the Democrats, less in the Republican, and even less in other. So now what we're going to do is we're going to define our model. And remember, this is going to be unsupervised learning, so we're not going to have a prediction. So we've imported Isolation Forest. Model equals Isolation Forest N estimators equals 1,000. Max samples equals auto. Contamination equals float. Max features equals 1. Model fit train candidate votes. So that's our model. And then so now what we've done is we've made some more because we're trying to detect anomalies. So train scores equals model decision function train candidate votes. Train anomaly equals model predict train candidate votes, and then train. And so now we've got our train. So you can see scores and anomaly. So anomaly, if it's a 1, then it means that everything's okay. And if it's a -1, it means it's an anomaly. So then we've got another line of code. Anomaly equals train float, train anomaly equals -1. Anomaly index equals list anomaly index, print anomaly. So basically what we're doing is we're picking out everything that's -1. So we've got 409 rows. So 409 examples of anomalies for the presidential elections from 1976 to 2020. And now we're going through the outliers. Outliers counter equals Lynn train candidates greater than 999,999 outliers counter. And then so basically we have 442 of outliers that are greater than 999,999. So outliers year equals anomaly. I think that's one. And that's one I made up, I think. Yeah, I made this one up. Outliers year equals anomaly, state, candidate year, party, candidate votes, sum, reset index, outliers year. So this is just the sum of all the votes for your outliers year. And now what I've done is I've done a box plot of that outliers year. So you can see in the box plot that we've got quite a few anomalies in the Democratic Party. You've got maybe you've got more anomalies in the Republican Party, but they're like spaced closer together. And then you've got a few anomalies in other. Okay, so now what I've done is I've made a little line of code called OA equals outliers year dot log outliers year equals 2008. And so these are just the anomalies that we picked up for 2008. So you've got an outlier over in the Democratic Party, and you've got 3 outliers in the Republican Party. Because this is just what I believe. I believe that if the Democratic Party was going to perpetrate fraud in the 2020 election, what's going to stop them perpetrating fraud in the other elections? I mean, do you think that, in 2020 they decided, we're just going to commit fraud? No, I think that if the Democrat Party was going to commit fraud in the 2020 election, they're going to commit fraud in other elections too. So that's just my opinion on the matter. And I think that's what machine learning is saying. Because in machine learning for the Democratic Party, starting in 2008, you've got one little outlier for the Democratic Party, and you've got 3 outliers for the Republican Party. So now here's another line of code that I made. Out 12 equals outliers year dot log outliers year equals 2012. Again, in the Democratic Party, you've got one little line of code, and in the Republican Party, you've got 3 lines of code, and other, you don't have any outliers. So again, we've got outliers in 3 outliers in the Republican Party. So again, this is just saying that's what President Trump is saying. He's saying that these people have committed fraud. He's saying that they have committed just about every type of voter fraud that you could possibly imagine. And so, yeah, I just think that, if you do it once, you'll do it again. And if they committed fraud in the 2020 election, then they probably committed fraud in earlier elections. And it's up to data science to pick this out. And from what I understand, because they're having hearings and things like that to discuss this, they have actually employed data scientists to look for this information and to look for fraud, and people who do it professionally and know it a lot better than I know it. So now we've got outlier 16 equals, so now what we're doing is we're going through and we're checking just the incidences of anomalies. And so now what I did was I did outlier 16, so you can see all the outliers in 2016, but I put it in a chart. So again, with the Democratic Party, you've got one outlier, and with the Republican Party, you've got 3 outliers, and so you've got less votes with the Republican Party than you did the Democratic Party, or less anomalies. But the thing is that the Democrats were alleging voter fraud in 2016, from what I understand, and they're saying that Trump won because of voter fraud. And the thing about the votes in 2016 was there were actually more Democratic votes than there were Republican votes, but because you get to be president because of the Electoral College. It's the Electoral College who determines who's going to be president. And let's just go back here and look at something. So we'll go back and look at these anomalies again. So in 2000, so this is just the overall. You had more anomalies in the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. In 2008, you had more anomalies in the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. In 2012, you had more anomalies in the Democratic Party than you had the Republican Party. In 2016, you had more anomalies in the Democratic Party than you did the Republican Party. And now here we get to 2020. So in 2020, you got one outlier over here in the Democratic Party and about 3 in the Republican Party. And the thing is these box plots that I'm making, these box plots are just on anomalies. They're not on the votes, they're on the anomalies. And so you have about just slightly less anomalies in the Democratic Party than you do Republican Party, which is worrying indeed, because that's what Trump is saying. Trump is saying that voter fraud is taking place. And now what we do is we check the accuracy of our model. The accuracy of our model is 92.53%. And so basically that's what we've got. So the only thing that we can do is we can say, well, there's so many anomalies in the candidate votes. I mean, we can't say that yes, they committed fraud, no, they didn't commit fraud, because that's something that needs to be investigated. But we can say that we've got quite a few anomalies in the voting. And these box plots that I've made towards the end of the program, those are just anomalies. So I hope you like my video. This is my first foray into unsupervised learning. I just thought, well, since I'm getting a lot of views on the presidential election, I thought, well, what else can I do with this data set? Is there anything else I can do with this data set? And so I've had an interest in unsupervised learning, and President Trump is saying that voter fraud is going on. So I thought, well, let's look into this. Let's see if we can use a function to determine voter fraud. So data science can say that there's irregularities. Data science can say that there's anomalies, but people need to go through and investigate that. And so we do have quite a few irregularities in, in all of the presidential elections. But President Trump, he's the one saying that there's irregularities and he wants it investigated. And so data science is confirming that there are irregularities, while Trump is saying that there's fraud. So it's up to the authorities to investigate this. And I hope that you got something out of this video. And thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please like, subscribe, and share. And you want to leave a donation, I've got my PayPal, my email address to my PayPal account in the description box down below. And I look forward to making more videos for you.